Well, hello, everyone, wherever you are. We hope you're having a great day. Well, it is February 13th, and it is about 8:00 something Pacific time. My name is Rick Zanotti, and I wanted to welcome you to eLearnChat, where talk is knowledge. I'm joined today by Dawn Mahoney. Hey, Dawn, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Glad we're here together.
Yeah, and you're in beautiful, looks like sunny Wisconsin from your window.
It's a pretty day, real pretty day.
Now,
Right?
are you guys hazy a lot, or do you get a lot of sunlight?
Well, I live by a lake, so when the temperatures fluctuate, we'll get fog
Oh, you will. Okay.
and haze. Yes, it's quite a few lakes around here, so the water definitely affects.
So is Wisconsin like Minnesota, Land of Lakes, if you will?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Glaciers.
Yeah, I've never been to either of those states. I've been to quite a few states, but not one of those two. One day.
Well, I'm
One.
proud to say that every time I mention when people ask me where I'm from, like if they can't recognize from my accent, they'll say, "Oh, I went to Wisconsin. It's so pretty there."
Yeah,
And as a native, I think it is, but it's nice to hear from other people.
that's true.
There's not mountains; they're hills, but they're good-sized hills around, and
Right.
a lot of lakes. We have many types of trees, so there's always color.
So there you go. Go to Wisconsin. That was a public message from the Wisconsin Tourist Board.
Yes, yes.
Well, Don, unfortunately, our guest who we had today didn't know he was a guest today. There was a scheduling conflict today, so our guest will be on probably in early March, and his name is Rick Altman. He's a good guy, and he was very apologetic when he realized that it didn't get on his calendar. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of what he might have talked about, which is presentations and how to do presentations maybe, and how to set up your presentations. Now, Don, you use PowerPoint, right?
I use PowerPoint. I use low-tech approaches. In my work, I do a little of each in both, and then I also use a web-based platform. We happen to use WebEx, but so all three of those.
Now, do you remember the days when everybody did PowerPoint and they did it with bullets, and it was nothing but bullets?
Yes, I still live in the land where that happens occasionally.
Yeah.
Not because I created that, but
Yeah, but I did. I admit it. In the old days, I have created that kind of horrific PowerPoint. Of course, in conjunction with a client who that's what they wanted, but I
sure.
didn't know any better. That was about 15 years ago. And I look back on it now and go, oh my God, that is one of the worst presentations I've ever seen. And it was actually a presentation for a new employee orientation class that was about 6 hours long. And it was literally 6 hours of mind-numbing bullets and a couple of graphics.
Well,
It was.
you get to click next and back too.
You can. That's true.
Yes.
That's true. So you get 8 bullets here and 3 bullets there. That's variety.
And then
But-
you can do that, where they fade in and out thing.
That's right.
Very interactive.
Yep. Yep. Unfortunately, that's how most people were trained, at least back then, to do PowerPoint. You just basically did bullets and occasional graphics. And we did some graphics, and we made it pleasant in terms of it was a warm bunch of bullets because there was always people on the page. But it wasn't really a presentation. It was just mind-numbing facts and data. And then as techniques changed and as we started thinking about it, you really have to tell a story with PowerPoint. Even if it's a boring, let's say, new employee orientation, which doesn't have to be boring, but let's say it's one of those kind of presentations. There's so many ways you can make that interesting without having to resort to bullets. Even if you have data, use
Right.
graphics and boxes to represent your data. Use charts. Use other things to organize your data so that it makes more sense. It's not just a mind-numbing bullet and one bullet after another, after another, after another, after another, and then by the time you're done, you've been shot to death. But
So Leva is saying she never uses PowerPoint, which I think I knew pretty well. She uses Captivate to put her presentations together. She's been doing them with freelance graphics without bullets since 1990.
that's pretty
So
good. That's pretty good. I wouldn't use Captivate to do presentations. I mean, you could.
I
But to
don't
me,
have
that's
it, but I
that's a
would
little
have it.
that's a little slower. PowerPoint's fast. It's a good tool, and it works really well. I mean, you could do it in Captivate and then put it on the web or whatever else. But again, you could do the same thing with. You can also import your PowerPoint into Captivate, which is something people do on occasion. Same with storylines. Same with a lot of tools. You can import that tool and then use it to your heart's content, add more interactivity to it, which can be fun. We recently did a project where we took, I think it was about 9 hours of PowerPoint content and put it into Articulate Storyline and created an Articulate piece out of it. And it worked pretty well. The whole conversion took us about a week. That's not bad. I mean, it converted most of it, but there were some little things because this was a presenter piece, Articulate presenter piece. And so it took a little bit of refixing, but it wasn't bad at all. And then we had a full-blown WBT after the fact, which was pretty good.
9 hours of PowerPoint.
9 hours well, there was a lot of stuff in this. It was actually 2 courses, 6 for one and 3 for the other. And they were both mandatories for compliance type training. But yeah, that was a lot of PowerPoint.
The benefit to putting it in a wrapper like Captivate or Articulate products and others that came before, of course, is file size and more agnostic availability on computer to computer, operating system to operating system, and so forth. So, I can see the benefit in natively creating in Captivate or a product like that. There's so many now available, as we talked about with Judy a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Now, have you ever used Prezi?
I have used Prezi.
Now, to me, Prezi's gimmicky. It's okay, but it doesn't really do that much for me. But what do you think of it?
It is gimmicky. I was an early adopter. I don't know. I think it was out for about a week, and I learned of it. And it has lots of capability and functionality built in, but my experience with it as a person on the receiving end of a presentation using it is you can get seasick even easier when it's not when it's not done well. I do like the fact that it's not linear and that it forces you as a designer, developer, speaker, presenter, whatever, to not be in linear mode, that you actually have to make a choice to make it vertical or a horizontal, changing slide to slide. And that's one thing I do like about it a lot more than PowerPoint. It has all those templates in it, and it builds out to, I don't know, is it 6 or 7 or 8 levels of outline, different bullets. So people choose them instead of, getting creative. So when I do facilitation on how to use the tools, first thing I tell them is take all those levels of bullet points right out. Don't even leave them in the master.
I don't know. I kind of like those 4-point final bullet points. Aren't they great?
Yeah, because you can really see that well.
That's right, especially in about 4 feet back.
Yeah. And if you use that pink and gray template.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, it's really great. So that part about Prezi I do like, that it's non-linear, that you can, in the fashion of mind mapping and telling a story, I think that it can really unfold a story really nicely when you use it properly. And it's pretty quick to learn.
It is. In fact, it's not that hard at all. It's just that after a while I get tired of rotating around. It just seems like, okay, well, didn't we do this a couple of times already? I don't know. After a while it gets a little bit old. I like the approach, but I haven't really spent too much time doing it. I think now they have a new version. I haven't really looked at it.
No, I haven't either.
And supposedly they've added more capabilities. So it'd be nice to see what they've done with it. The concept is interesting. Like you said, it's like mind mapping. And
right. So, that's what it reminds me of most often. I do think the fade in, fade out capability is nice, nicer than other tools out there. The transition aspects are smooth. It's a free tool. You don't need to have purchased the Office Suite or something to do this. It's out there on the web.
It's not a free tool. I think it's like $60 or $75 a year, $100 maybe. I don't remember.
I've never paid for it yet.
You did? Oh, okay. Because
there's a free version and a pay version that has more functionality, more fonts, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now it's interesting when you look at PowerPoint. If you look at it, it hasn't really changed that much in the last, let's say, 4 to 8 years. I mean, they've added a couple of different features, but it's basically the same. It hasn't changed. Even 2013 hasn't changed all that much. It looks good, but it hasn't really added any more great or new functionality. Now, have you ever used Keynote?
Yes, I've had Keynote for a really long time because I'm a Mac person. If you watch the show, you know that. But I find that even though I love Keynote, I'll either use it on my iPad or I go back to PowerPoint just because on my work laptop, because I'm so much more accustomed to where things are, and that's strictly a function of not spending enough time.
But I'm the same way. Keynote looks like it's pretty cool.
It is cool.
I've never gotten into it. It's funny. I've played with it, but I always go back to PowerPoint.
It has all the same, all the aspect ratios and all those things, but they're called different things. So spending, the quality time learning the language of Apple in presentation mode, even the document, which is called Pages, it's all the same things, but I know in PowerPoint or Word I can click edit and do what I need to, and I can click view and get what I need to, format, and so the menus and so forth. I just need to spend time customizing, and I never take the time to do that.
I'm the same way. Now,
Actually, I love my presentations done in Keynote so much more from a visual aspect.
They look nice, yeah, and there's some nice little touches in Keynote. Now, it's interesting. We've been talking about tools as presentation tools. Now let's take it a step back. Tools are nothing more than that. It's a tool to help you facilitate what your presentation is. More often than not, as presenters, we rely on the tool rather than our own creativity or the story or message we're trying to tell. How often can you remember telling a story using PowerPoint?
How often?
How often?
It depends on the venue. I know that in my work life, when our chief legal counsel, who was just named the CEO yesterday, he has PowerPoint, but he never uses the slides, and he tells stories. It's powerful, really powerful. And when I travel and I go to our buildings, I never use PowerPoint anymore with them, or rarely, because I want them to get that their stories matter a whole lot more than anything they can put up on a screen. They're borrowing projectors and doing all that stuff. So I maybe, because I do OD work, I'm a little bit more fortunate in that respect. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times I think what happens is we don't tell stories. And some presenters do, where they'll tell a story based on what they're seeing in the PowerPoint, or they'll use the PowerPoint many times with a word or two on a screen. And that sparks a story, a tale, a parable, whatever. And it makes it a little bit more interesting. The worst kind of presentations are one where you just literally sit and hear facts over and over and over again. And again, that gets boring, and you lose your audience probably within a couple minutes.
Right.
And there's nothing worse than, as a presenter or a trainer, how often have you looked at not you per se, but you tacitly, how really have you looked at your audience? Now, if your audience is in the dark, okay, you can't really gauge much on their expressions, but you can see those shadows moving, and if they move too much, you've got a problem. But
well, even with the bright lights that you would have if you were on a stage, you can still see the first few rows.
You do see that, yeah. At least those people. And if they're looking angry, then you've got a problem going on. But seriously, how often do you look at your audience? Do you try to see if the audience is conking out, if they're paying attention, if they're engaged? How often do you ask questions of your audience? A lot of presenters only present, and they don't interact at all. No questions asked, raise your hand, do anything. And I've noticed that in presenting, when I talk, if I do public speaking, I'm constantly interacting. Not only do I move around stage or move around the audience, if I'm wired, boy, I'm free. I can go all over the place. And I like working with the audience. I find it more interesting. And, we're getting an echo.
Not too bad.
Just kinda,
I've had the
it was
the
muted.
drawback, I guess, having done conference presentations where they have that big heavy mic that hangs around your neck.
Right.
It's got a big heavy cord, and the room isn't very big anyway, and you have tables, and then you're tethered with this long cord. It takes a little bit of brain work to do my thing, because I'm not used to sitting in one spot.
Right. I've had to stand in front of podiums, and we're getting a real echo going on.
Yeah, it's not bad. You're cutting in and out, but they are hearing it from you. they're
For
saying
me,
in the chat pod.
yeah, you're sounding good. I don't know why I'm getting an echo.
You're the sound guy. I got nothing to do to help you.
Yeah, we've done nothing different. All of a sudden, the echo
Speaking of
kicked in.
presentations,
Yeah, there's no loopback going on. Let me check one
well,
thing.
while you're checking that, Leva brought up, and I had wanted to cover it too, is about handouts for presentations, etc. And I am not a handout person per se. I err on the side of less is more. I'll create handouts because some people need that tactile experience of writing. So I provide something for them to write on. I may put prompters and areas that are buckets where they can put notes around a particular topic or topical area. And what she's saying, I love having the digital and paper options for people to choose from. And now that we have that option, how wonderful. Most conferences now, you can pull the handouts in advance, print them if you'd like to, or have them open on an app and be able to annotate as you go along, if that's your preferred way of.
And that's well, I'm still getting weird audio issues.
Are you better?
I'm not sure. All right, how do you hear me right now?
You sound fine to me. So
Okay.
I'm looking at the chat pod to see if anybody's hearing any echo.
All
or
right.
delay.
One of the things when we used to get presentation, remember the 3-ring binders, and you had 400 pages of that conference presentations? That was a lot of paper. That was a lot of weight you had to carry around. And fortunately, now everything's being done with the CDs and DVDs and whatever, and just a lot better all the way around.
Yeah, when I was planning a conference several years ago now, 2006 or 7, and I declared that we were not going to have paper handouts, there was a lot of hue and cry over what will we do, because these are trainers in the room, they like to have handouts. And it was a somewhat unpopular decision initially, but it also became the way things are done now. With that particular group. And what I did was go out and get a sponsor right away for USB drives. And we saved all the files out there so that they still had them to take home. And then they were up on a website like after the conference. Because for some reason, the presenters were real closed about wanting people to have their stuff in advance. It was kind of like, well, you published information already about it. So there's an extract and, links to your webpage and so forth. So, but now, have you been to a conference in the last 4 or 5 years where you get paper handouts?
No, it's been forever. I haven't seen paper in ages. And it's better that way. I think it just seems to work a lot better, and we don't have that issue of. I'm still getting that echo.
Yeah, it is. They're saying you still have an echo. John has joined us late, and he says that they still do handouts, but typically it's a link to their knowledge base or other e-learning sources. And what Leva's saying is the echoes when they were both on screen, so maybe just switch back and forth between
All right,
us.
so now I'm getting still a little bit of the same problems. I'm not sure what's causing it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I like the digital paper. I use bamboo paper by Wacom on my iPad, but there are others. Wacom came out with one of the first ones. Now I think you can even get free items and apps for your iPad or tablet, but where you can actually write. And I like the paid version allows you to email the notes you take right to your inbox. If there's ambient Wi-Fi and available. And it's my own writing, so if I can't read it, it's my own fault.
That's true. Yep, that is true. I'm definitely having a little bit of an audio issue, but I'm not quite sure why. I think it's okay right now. I'm not hearing the echo, at least at the moment.
Of course, I'm listening to you on Skype, so I rarely will get that. It's just on the Justin show. But so presentation, something we were going down the road of microphones and cords and tethering and so forth. So what do you do when you're doing a live presentation? And also, how does it translate to on the web?
Well, ideally what you want to do is have a wireless setup. And most places you do have wireless, but not all. Because with the wireless, now some people love to be tethered to their podium. The podium is safety. It's mommy. It's so good. You hold on to the podium for dear life. I've seen presenters do that, and as a result, what you get is a rather static presenter who never moves and never gets away from that piece of comfort. I personally like presenters that move around. That's part of the engagement process. They're not just in one spot, but they move around. Have you ever had teachers when you're in a classroom, they're in one spot or behind their desk and they never move?
No.
It gets boring after a while, and you wonder if they either can't move, don't want to move, or don't like moving. But as a result, the presentation or whatever they're teaching seems to be more static. So it's not just the tools, the electronic tools we use, it's the way we present. And
To one spot, you're going to tie yourself to every aspect of it.
yeah, that's true.
Free range of thinking. I've seen people that they absolutely can't take questions until they get to the end. The same kind of thing.
Oh, right. No interruptions.
Leva's asking, do those teachers still exist?
They do.
The news is yes, they do. And it's even more deadly when they're online. It's awful.
Well, yeah, online presentations are a whole different kind of animal because you only have your voice many times. You're not doing video on a lot of the online presentations. It's your PowerPoint and it's your voice. So if your PowerPoint sucks and you have no voice, you probably won't have a great presentation. And if you're not interactive in a blended e-learning or blended presentation kind of manner where you are virtual, then you're almost guaranteed a very bad presentation. And when you're online, the best way you can tell if you've got a good presentation or not is by the retention rate of the students as they are watching. For example, if you start out with 200 people and you end with less than 100, you've not done a good job. If you can retain 90% of your students, you've done a great job. If you can retain more, well, hey, power to you. You've actually done a really good job. And that is really the best way to judge how well your performance on a blended e-learning or a blended presentation goes. Because without that, you're not going to be able to do what you need to do.
Well, and I several years ago took an online certification, and it was asynchronous learning. So it was enough years ago that chatting live, Skype wasn't invented yet that we knew of, and chatting live involved, posting something, going back in later and looking for responses and so forth. And part of the cohort group I was in were college professors. And then there was me, so I'm sure it was very interesting for them as well. But there was this one guy. He was teaching he was a college professor in a minister role, teaching ministers how to be ministers and pastors. And I don't think they were Lutheran, but I could be wrong. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, he would post these really long typed things, and I lost interest about one paragraph in, because it was one of those things I could just picture him in the classroom where he talked just to talk. And never asked for, participation, no interactivity. What do you think? Throw it back on people to check and see if they were learning anything. So in my experience, they still exist. I have friends in college courses right now as their evening life, and they're like, yep, there's a lot of them out there still, which makes me shudder because we could be doing this so much better.
That's true. Well, the art of teaching is definitely an art. You can quantify some of it, and some of it it's how you present. It's what you do in front of people. And you have also two types of presenters. You've got casual presenters, and then you've got the professional presenters who do it all the time. And if you're a casual presenter, it's a lot harder because you're not used to always being in front of an audience. So that's another thing.
If you live in the moment, that can be an advantage versus
it can.
People that are modeling behaviors they've seen from umpteen other people ahead of time. I can see that. I have a brother I have two brothers in academic. I have two brothers, and they're both in academia. One works for the university and has oversight for students and student projects, and he does some teaching. He's in charge of safety and that sort of thing. And then my other brother is a PhD and has matriculating coursework and all of that. And they both have said to me, so how did you learn how to do what you do? Because no one's teaching us. You know, my one brother, the matriculating, he's a researcher. And his college degree are all in how his research projects went. And here he is teaching. Never was there a requirement that he learn how to do teaching methods,
Right.
facilitating learning, that whole paradigm shift that you really have to go through as far as it isn't about me, the guy up in front, telling you everything I know. It's about what they already know and that they come to their own aha moments.
Actually, I remember going to college. I think the worst presenters I've ever seen were college professors on the whole. I mean, absolutely awful. It was just amazing. It was a long time ago, but it was just amazing watching very bad presentation technique, very bad interaction technique, and of course the classes were boring. Very interesting, because you'd think that as a professor they'd get a lot more training in presenting. They don't. They don't. Maybe it's better now. I've been to some presentations which are pretty good, but I've talked to some recent grads. We always have recent grads in the office, and they usually say, "Yeah, it was really boring." And so it's just sort of interesting.
Leave us saying thanks. I'm in academia. So I sent our apologies. We meant the other people.
Yeah, it's the other ones.
John is in the chat room too, and he said when I would teach Excel, I'd always prepare myself by trying to remember what I knew when I knew nothing about Excel and what were my struggles. And I think that's true. If we put ourselves in their shoes, in my world, as I've done a lot of facilitation over the 20 plus years of my career, you know, just because we're the one in the front of the room doesn't mean we know more. Collectively, they've all got a lot more knowledge and skill than we do as the person up in front, even if we're developing computer-based training modules, or there's a lot of knowledge there, so we have to tap into that somehow.
Yep.
It's
So anyway, if there are no more questions or comments in the chat room, I think we're probably going to bring this one to a close. What do you think, Dawn?
absolutely.
Yeah, we had to wing this one. Unfortunately, we had no preparation. We thought we had somebody on today, so we figured, oh, this is a good subject. It's a quick one that we've all had to work with as far as presenting and getting out there, but it's totally been winged.
You say that like you're not sure.
But I'm not sure. I think we winged it.
So I leave a post-it out here. I think it's a good one. Don't put the level too low that you need to challenge the students. And
True.
I couldn't agree more that that's why being in the moment is so important, that you have a standard set of what your curriculum is going to be, but you don't paint yourself in the box and how it's going to unfold for the learners.
Okay, I'm gonna do a quick test while we're here. Okay, I am doing a test right now, and yes, I think my echo is coming from you, Dawn. I muted your channel, and there's no more echo. So here we go. I'm gonna unmute you, and now when I'm talking, somehow or other it's coming through you. I'm not sure why. As you've been talking, I've been checking all the audio links, and it could be a speaker thing. Your speaker. Are you on a headset? Or you have speakers on?
Same setup I always use, just my Mac.
But with do you have a headset or like an ear plug in, or is it speakers?
No, I'm good.
Okay, because I'm hearing there's definitely audio bleed going on, and see all of this echo is coming. Okay, I'm going to mute you again, and you notice as I mute your channel, there's no more echo. It's gone. I'm going to go strictly to my shot right now, and no echo whatsoever. If I go to your shot again, no echo. You're muted. I think the echo is coming from something in your setup. So we're going to have to figure that one out later. Okay, you're back, and there goes the echo. So something weird is going on with the audio setup. So we'll have to look at that. But anyway, we'll figure that out.
Anything. We've been using the word winging it, and we're not honoring someone from another country. Had to explain what winging it is, so hopefully it'll be okay.
We are flying. We are flying without wings.
Perfect.
All right, everyone. Thanks you for being there. And next week, I think we have a guest next week. Trying to remember who.
The third.
The third?
The third. Charles Green the third.
Oh, Charles Green. Okay.
And, I'll be sure to follow up a little bit earlier with him. We have to Skype with him because he's Skype averse.
Oh, he is? Okay. We'll practice with him.
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right, everyone.
A musician or magician and speaker.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be real interesting. He's a great guy.
That'll be cool. Maybe he'll do some magic for us.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for being there, and we will see you next week on eLearnChat. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.